right now. Welcome to the show. Again, if you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. Got a great one lined up for you today from the beautiful Betty Van Velsen. All right, Betty, we're ready to go. You ready?
Yes, I am.
No, just messing with you. We were talking about that. I thought I'd surprise you with that.
Yeah, sure you do.
Yeah, we're not ready just yet. Evening, how's it going out there? We have Adam, Anthony, Paula, YouTube. All right, they'll be falling on in here over the next few minutes, Betty. So you could take your time.
Okay. Yeah, well, we got the good ones already in here, right? In the chat. So that's good.
Meaning the other ones that join the chat after this are bad ones?
Oh, they're late.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, well, I don't mind.
Yeah. We're fine.
You did advertise it quite late, didn't you?
Well, no, not really. It was I advertised early without the link.
Yeah. But in the Skype chats, I think, also in Discord.
Yes.
Okay.
But
yeah.
But that was without the link. It's such a pain to do ads. I know everyone's going to love to hear this. It's such a pain to do. No one does it for you, so you got to do it yourself. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Discord, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Skype. But they don't take the same format. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it drives me up the wall, right? Because I got to change all the formats, just the advertising. Then I got advertised 2 or 3 times. So that start to add up, right?
Isn't it so that you can sort of, with Skype, if you did it once, you just sort of forward it, right?
No, the forwarding capacity of Skype is terrible.
Oh, wow. I did it that way.
Yeah.
You were gone.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
It doesn't look right.
Oh, well, it did. It looked the same.
I'm telling you, it didn't. I seen it. I was aghast by it.
Mr. Detail.
So let's see what's going on out there. Yeah, it's just, I'm just complaining. It's not that hard. It's just tedious.
Yeah, that's true.
So let me pull this up. Go ahead.
What this you do, but you can also do this, I think, in YouTube community, right? You can also write sort of an ad there and put that out.
Early on. I don't use that.
Yeah, you haven't done it, but it could be a good thing, a good tool, I think.
Yeah, I'm not. I'd have to have somebody give me a block of instruction on it.
It's that easy. You just go to your community page. I think in that studio thing that you got, right? And just write a message.
It's not. Well, I'll have to get in there.
You can respond to that. Yeah.
I have to get in there and muck with it. What's up? Hold on.
Hold on to what?
Yeah, I had to give some instruction for taking the phone off the hook.
Ah. Do you have your phone in your drawers already? Because
you know what? I just looked up. Now there's 2 phones. There's a landline, and of course there's a number of phones in the house, right? I'm sure everyone's interested in this. And as soon as you said that, did you put your phone in the drawer? I looked up and I seen it up there. So no. So I will do that.
It started talking when you started talking.
Yeah, I'm going to do that right now.
All right.
If I didn't tell you, you had the con there for the past 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to ask you, what did you think about last? Did you still think about last presentation? Was there something new that stuck out for you?
No, it was the same. There was no issues, none at all. I didn't think it was complete. So no.
Yeah, it was a lot of reading, and today I hope not to do a lot of reading, but more like a recap, give a recap, and then get some points that stuck out to me, and see if people see the same things, and it's also a couple of pointers for people to how to read the Bible to sort of pay attention to.
Sure.
So I hope that we can go over that, can over those points.
Okay.
And see what people think about that.
All right. Well, let's do it. Go ahead and you're already sharing your screen. Go ahead and
Yeah.
let me test it. Let me see if it's there. I missed the curtain. Sorry about that, but
the curtain's up.
T minus 5, 4, 3, 2. It was premature. So you got it. You're up. You're ready to go.
All right. So this is the recap of the blessing. That's the presentation I did last time. It was a lot of reading, like I said, and it was about the blessing. And what is the blessing? And the first blessing that was being given to Adam was in Genesis 1, verse 28. It says, "And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." Sorry, I have to clear my throat. So this is the blessing that was being given to Adam, and it is a lot of text, of course, and we see later on that the words fruitful, multiply, are the ones that are being said to continue that blessing, basically. So
hold on. Did that page just fly away?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Kind of cute, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but I had to stop.
I knew that you would love that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to stop everything.
I understand. Well, the thing is that I thought with the blessing, right? It's like a bird, like the Holy Spirit bird, like a dove, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that would be sort of like suitable for that transition.
That was it was outrageous. I wasn't ready for it, so I'm sorry to interrupt people out there, but that's just that's just not fair.
It was intended.
All right,
I
go
would
ahead.
have been sort of disappointed if you didn't.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So we went over these scriptures. So I'm not going to read them out because it's too much of the Genesis this and Genesis that. But it is basically from God to Adam, God to Noah, Noah to Shem, God to Abraham, and then Abram. Here is still his first name. Then Abraham to Isaac, God to Isaac. And then again, right, Isaac blesses Jacob. God through Isaac to Jacob, and then we see the wrestling that Jacob had with the angel, and then he gets also a different name. And then God reaffirms the name change and blessing again to Jacob, so he get basically twice. And then Jacob blesses Joseph through and his two lads, right? His two boys, Ephraim and Manasseh. And then finally in Genesis 48, verse 20, it says Jacob blesses Ephraim before Manasseh. So we see the blessing going through this family, basically. So let's go over Manasseh and Ephraim. I did this last time at the end. And I said that, well, these names mean something because Joseph gave them the names that was in a certain time of his life. And then so we go first to Manasseh. And in Genesis 41, verse 51, it says, Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God said, oh my God, the text. For God, said he, hath made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. And then we go to Ephraim, and it says in Genesis 41:52, and the name of the second he called he Ephraim, for God hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. And I went over some definitions too for Manasseh, the meaning of that name, forgetting, forgetfulness, making to forget. And then for Ephraim, it's a little bit twofold. Also in the name, it's like a sort of a pun, because it means twofold increase, double fruitful. But it also means, it's also words for ashes, the symbol of worthlessness or grief. So it's sort of a twofold name. It can be a blessing, but it can also be meaning worthless or grief. I think that's very significant, and I will point that out later, or maybe in later presentations, why Ephraim is such an interesting topic and also an interesting study to do. And I think I left the last presentation with a foreshadow, my thoughts basically. And I will read this out. Jacob, by his action to bless Ephraim before Manasseh, is a foreshadowing of all people having forgotten all about their father's house, God. They have to repent, to forget their evil works, so to speak, and to be double fruitful in the land of their affliction. And this is basically my own sort of quote, or based on the names and on where I think that we are in this world and who we are, basically. What do you think about this thought, John?
I like the two meanings because it depends on context, so it provides a lot of latitude for the Lord, depending on the context. So that's what jumped out off the page to me. Yeah.
Okay. And I will bring this up, I think, maybe in some other presentations, because I think my understanding is for this is a build-up on multiple revelations, basically, that I got from the Bible. So that we go to Genesis 48, and then verse 17 to 22, where we can see that Joseph's sons get blessed by his father. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, and it displeased him, and he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said unto his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn, put thy right hand upon his head. But his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. And he blessed them that day, saying, In thee shall Israel bless, saying, God make thee as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said unto Joseph, Behold, I die, but God shall be with you, and bring you again unto the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to thee one portion above thy brethren, and I took out the hand of the Amorite, with my sword and with my bow. So here we can see that he said, put Ephraim before Manasseh, and that basically the blessing goes to Ephraim. And this is where it stayed for the last time. Then after that, we can't see a continuation of that. And interesting enough is this last verse where basically Joseph is being blessed but because his sort of offspring will get a bigger portion or an extra portion, because we have to remember that Jacob had I think it was Abraham that bought a piece of land where people were buried, basically, and Joseph is going to take his father also there to be buried, and that's near Hebron. So there's a little portion of land that Joseph is being blessed with. So you can see that the Jacob has sort of a greater love for Joseph and that family.
Yeah, I'd like to stop you right there with the last. It mentioned the bow.
Bow?
Yeah, it did mention the bow. I just thought I'd point that out. You went from it quickly, but it was the last, right? With a sword and his bow. Yeah. Just wanted to say it. Okay, thanks.
Funny, huh? How things add up. So again, yeah, we see that he puts Ephraim before Manasseh, and like I said, we don't see the blessing continue from father to son anymore, right? But we do see that Jacob prophesies over each son in the next chapter, and that's for another presentation. But we're gonna have a preview on what's being said about Ephraim, and it's not something that Jacob said, but this is through the prophets. We see how God sees Ephraim in Jeremiah 31, verse 9. They shall come with weeping and with supplication, and I will lead them. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of water in a straight way, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am the father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. And I think, well, why would Jeremiah write this? This got my attention when I when I saw this being written here. And yeah, you have to remember that Jeremiah lived at the time when the house of Israel, the 10 tribes, were already taken away. So the northern part of Israel, which had the 10 tribes, the 10 lost tribes, they say, in them, Ephraim was one of those tribes that was taken away. And Jeremiah lived at the time when that was already done. They were already exiled, and the house of Judah was about to be exiled to Babylon. So why is God still saying, hey, Ephraim is my firstborn? Have you got any ideas, John?
No, but it's very interesting. This whole Joseph study, if you haven't done a study of Joseph, I would suggest to do it. Remember the time that we did that? We went through it a number of times, and we always found something new.
Exactly. Yeah. Joseph is very, very interesting, and also on a psychological path, basically. I think that you could say about Joseph that he might have been to his brothers like a pesty kind of guy who would run to his father and say, look what my brothers did, and they did dishonest this and that. And you could sort of think that. And he had a dream about everybody bowing to him, and he told that. And all these brothers were already sort of jealous of him, right? Because he had the coat of many colors, and his father loved him the best, right?
But even Jacob was pissed.
Well, yeah, because I think that he also was going to have to bow to him, right? That's sort of, they thought, well, that can't happen. Of course.
Yeah, but what did he say? He was pissed, but he remembered the dream. That's where it ended. Stopped right there, and then went on to another subject. But he was pissed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's a great story. I think it's one of the more interesting stories. There's a lot of interesting stories in the Bible, but one of my favorites is Joseph. I always like to go back and go through.
Yeah, it's kind of also a twofold sort of thing, right, with him.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so to summarize and conclude, I got a couple of points that I find interesting. Also during reading the Bible. Wait a minute, why is it going to go so fast? Okay, there we go. So we got point 1. We see that the blessing is given by God to man and from man to man, and sometimes God reaffirms that, or God is first and then man reaffirms it to the other guy. But it's always about being fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, all those kind of things, right? It's and also about the blessed ones being a great nation, a multitude of nations, making their names great, and that they shall be a blessing themselves, right? This is interesting. So now we go to point 2. And next to that blessing usually comes the promise of land, that they will be given land. And in Genesis 28, verse 14, and thy seed Israel shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south, and in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And then I say, okay, notice when you read the scriptures about this promise, that nor Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob had really settled down in the land God promised them. They did, but Abraham was intense, like here. Abraham lived in tents, and Isaac settled in a permanent place for a while, but had a dispute with the Philistines over some wells that he dug. Interesting study, by the way. I talked about that last time. And then also Jacob, he began his journey from Beersheba to Bethel, and when he dreamed about the ladder, and then from Bethel to Haran, to his uncle Laban, near Padam Aram, that's sort of the wilderness, where he stayed for about 20 years, and then back to Bethel, and later Jacob lived his last years basically with his 12 sons for 17 years in Egypt. Well, he lived to be 147. I don't think that many of us will live that long, but that in this amount of years he was not always in that same place, and he died in Egypt. That was not the land that was promised to him. So God promised them land, but they always were sort of on the move. So I want you to keep this in mind. And also I think that interesting is they will spread out, right? They will be spread out to the east, west, north, and south. So we got point 3. So we see point 3 for me is the name changes, right? We see 2 times the name of a person change. We see the name change from Abraham to Abraham, but more importantly, we see Jacob's name change to Israel, right? In Israel. And this happens after 2 events with Jacob. He crosses a body of water, the Jabbok River, and he wrestles. Sorry, I forgot that he wrestled with God over the blessing, right? He wanted to be blessed. So this name change, and I think that we talked about it I talked about it in the last presentation, is so that this river, sort of the River Jordan, the River Jabbok, is a sort of a side offspring of that river, I think. I don't know how you say that in English. But this is sort of like the baptism, and then getting another name on the other side, and then getting a blessing too, because you have repented and gone on to be with God. And in Isaiah 62, verse 2, it says, and the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all kings thy glory, and thou shalt be called by the new name which the mouth of the Lord shall name. So the name stands for character. Name is important. And the word Gentiles, by the way, means goy or goyim in Hebrew Strongs. And I go on to say with this. See, that's the arrow, by the way, John. Did you see it?
I just missed it. Do it again.
Oh.
No, I'm only kidding. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I've seen it.
There you go.
It looks like a paper airplane. Is that an arrow?
Yeah, sort of, right?
Ah,
A little bit of fantasy, right?
looks like a paper airplane, but go on.
All right. Well, so I want to go over these two names that have been used for Gentiles in the Bible. I want to do a study on this for myself. I've not really seen the end of that study yet. I've been looking into these two words. So the prophetic picture, and let's go first to this. For Jacob gets a new name. The Gentiles, which is a word that is not in the Bible, by the way. Yeah, it's been translated in English versions as Gentiles. But if you look at the Greek or in the Hebrew, it's goy or goyim, or in the Greek it's ethnos, and that means nations. So if we will get a new name, I wonder what that name will be for us, right? So in the Hebrew, it's translated as nations, heathen, Gentiles, people, and the same here. And here you can see how many times it's been translated as that. So just one word, but it means all this. And I think it needs another study. Right? We need to study what is exactly meant by these names. So we also have prophecy embedded in the text, because in Genesis 27, verse 40, and by thy sword thou shalt live, and that's Esau, and thou shalt serve thy brother Jacob, and it shall come to pass, and thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And this, I wonder, has this been fulfilled yet? So John, what do you think?
What do I think? I think the text up there, is that a Greek spelling of text?
How? Why? What?
Text, T-E-K-S-T.
Oh, that's my Dutch.
Yeah, is that Dutch? Really?
Yeah.
No, I liked it. I said, what? That's amazing. I've never seen it. It sounds like that.
Yeah. And now that you said it, now I notice it, because I'm sort of like, that's my blind spot, I think, for my being Dutch, that I can read both, right?
Yeah, it's okay. I liked it. I said, whoa. And then I said, I bet that's not a mistake. I mean, that's actually the way I liked it a lot. What do you think, John? I think nothing. Yeah.
Why do you think nothing?
Thing. She said, what do you think down there? Well, I think nothing.
Okay. Well, so you don't think that this is a prophecy?
Not think. Look at where you spell. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. Details. Come on.
Oh, so you're asking me, has this been fulfilled yet?
When do you think that this has been fulfilled?
That thou shalt break his yoke? No.
Okay. How can this be? So where do you think that this is in? Then when do you think that this is coming to pass? Is it still? So it's still in the future?
So Esau is represented by many peoples, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, and it's still a yoke, right? Mainly the people that surround Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Is all of Esau. So I don't think it's not yet.
Well, look at the times we're in now, right?
When will I think it'll break?
Yeah.
It's in Psalm 83 war.
Okay.
That's another study.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, you do recognize this as is basically as a prophecy, right? It's something that needs to be still be fulfilled.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now we have types. Sorry, I know that you didn't like the going over Rachel's death.
No, it's a sad I know there's a point to it. I just, it's not one of my favorite things.
Yeah, isn't it kind of sad? I mean, she could be, she was Jacob's favorite wife. He has to work 7 years for her to just be able to marry her. Of course, she gets older then, right? And then she only gets 2 sons, and the second son she doesn't even see grow up. I mean, that's sad, I think. So I can imagine that when she bears that son, that she wants to call him Benoni, which means son of my sorrows. But she was never able to rejoice over her son Joseph being the savior of Israel, basically, when the famine happened and they could live in Egypt for a while, right? So, but Jacob didn't want to have that stick to his son, right? This name, because he also knows how important names are, right? Because he got a new name. He sees that this is not a good thing to call your son. So he then calls his son Benjamin, which means son of the right hand, which is very interesting later on. I'll go over in next presentations on the names. So Jacob couldn't have more children by Rachel, right? And therefore he exalts 2 sons of Joseph to the same height, or even above. That's my opinion. His firstborn sons Reuben and Simeon, because Reuben had been bad.
They got into these two got into some trouble, didn't they?
Yeah, you remember what?
Oh boy. Yeah, it was some shady stuff with Reuben. I know that. I can't remember Simeon all that well.
Okay, so he was having it on with.
Yeah, he was a fornicator.
One of the handmaids of Jacob.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And Simeon, do you know what Simeon did?
No, I don't. Like I said, I forgot Simeon. Reuben stood out. I remember because of Reuben's sandwich.
That's interesting. Well, Simeon was with his brother Levi. He slaughtered a couple of people when they one of the men of that crowd had raped his sister Dinah, right? And Dinah wanted to marry. I think that she also wanted to marry that man, but and then the man wanted to marry her. And they all got circumcised, and when they did, they all slew him. They killed him off. So Simeon with Levi, right? And strangely enough, Levi gets the priesthood later on, but Simeon, it's not a good faith for Simeon. They are sort of like hateful and wrath, right? They have that with them against them. But again. Benjamin is pointing to the future, I think, because he dies, Rachel dies just before they enter into Bethlehem Ephrathah, which also means double fruit. And this is the place where Jesus is born years later, right? So it's sort of a type. Yep. Benjamin is sort of the type of Jesus in this sense. Interesting. Okay, then I don't know if I can call this a type or a prophecy, but we can see that when Jacob calls a place Mahanaim, right, and which means 2 bands, and you can read that in Genesis 32. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him, and Jacob saw them, and he said, I need to read this again. I'm making words up. So Genesis 32, verse 1 and 2, it says, and Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, this is God's host. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Mahanaim means two camps, two bands. And in Genesis 32:10, I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast shewed unto thy servants. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become two bands. Yeah, I want you to keep this in mind, because I'm going to do a presentation of the two bands, the two camps. Have you any idea of if this is a type or a prophecy, John?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, maybe if in my I think it will be the third one, because I want to first go over some other stuff on the names, but I think this will be a third presentation. We'll go over that. I think it might be interesting for you to if you don't know anything about this, or and that it might be a type of a prophecy. I think it's good to follow my thoughts a little bit on that presentation. So this is basically the end of this. So I hope that it brought some new things to people, and next time I'm going over the names of the patriarchs and the Hebrew meaning. So that's my presentation.
Outstanding. Very good.
Not that long this time, huh?
No, it's perfect.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things just in a little continuation. If you just do word studies on blessings, for example, or word studies like harvest, or the wells of the Bible, or any of those words, and you see that through these 66 books, these are symbols, and these symbols mean something significant, either in people's lives, or a change in something, or and I think it's sort of a build up on to find out what the character of God is, right? Because God is such a broad sort of understanding, and through symbols and signs, he sort of shows us in the Bible. I mean, signs in the Bible, he shows us who he is and what he stands for, and what he's going to do. And even I think that people can read the Bible and miss a whole lot, but if you sort of first read it like a story, but then go into every page and see what the meaning of the names are, see what happens and why they call things a certain name, and why they did that, and what happened before and after, and what changed. And then you can find a whole lot of new understandings and revelations on basically the psychology of mankind, and it's so much. And I think you can study the Bible for years and years, right, and still not have learned everything.
You'll never learn. You'll never learn. No, it's impossible. You'd need multiple lifetimes. We talked about that last week. It's a never-ending onion. It's layer upon layer upon layer, because you're talking about the creator of the universe giving these words to man, communicate. So it's so deep. It'll catch you, because you can't read it. You can't read scripture like a novel. That's not going to work. I tried to do when it first green around the gills. Okay, well, let's go. Let's start reading, and lost after 3 pages. Just lost, because it's not flowing. It doesn't flow like you're expecting it to, and it's not supposed to. I don't think it's supposed to be read that way. That's my humble opinion. After years and years of going through it, and like you said, a good way to do it is topics. Like you said, names. Do names or the wells. Another interesting, and that's never ending either, right? Another great one is till. One word. Till. T-I-L. Find all the words in Scripture that say till and look at. Because you're off in the deepness. And I think that's the way, like I said, I'm not an expert or anything. I don't claim to be. Did sleep in Holiday Inn Express last night. But there's a lot of techniques that you can use. And that's just one of them. And like you said, the names, multi-layered. There are types. There's types everywhere. And that'll just show you what an intelligence that you're dealing with. It'll just give you an idea, right, of something that no one will ever be able to grasp fully. It's impossible. I mean, you're talking about the creator of the universe, right? He holds everything together, all things. That's down to the nano speck, right? So there's no chance. And it's not a defeatist type of thing. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try. That's what I'm trying to say. Sure. But just be prepared.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, the thing that I did read as a sort of adventure book was that first bit on the families, right? When it started with Abraham, right up until I think, until Joshua enters the Holy Land, because it is sort of a wild story where you have a group of people who are multiplying and getting into tribes, and tribes settling down in Egypt and then being called out because they sort of being enslaved by these Egyptians, and what happens in the desert. And I mean that sort of reads out as an adventurous stuff. When you come to the Holy Land, when you see that they have to conquer a lot of people groups and you think, oh, what's this? Why we're talking about God? Why is he so combative with these people? And then you start to get into a little bit trouble, right? You think, what? Why? And many people stumble over that. Why God might be the God of wrath, of being vicious to people groups, but then now you have the need of basically the Holy Spirit to teach you what's the deeper meaning about that. And the whole thing until the Holy Land, and then you got judges, of course, and kings. Kings is also very interesting. Only I think that that in Kings there's hardly any sort of context to when they go from king to king. Right? You miss a lot of information because it said, well, you can read in the Chronicles of the king of that, and I think that we miss a lot of books that have been written about the separate kings as well, what they did. I mean, we only got some recaps, basically, or summarization of all these what they did, right?
Yeah, I'd like to get back to the types thing because it's so important. And types, once you get a feel for Scripture, you'll be able to see. Well, wait a second, that looks like an echo from something else, right? I think of them as echoes, right? It's easier for me because it's just much easier for me to think of it that way. Although types or prototypes are very important. You'll stumble across, many of them. One that I came across, and I think we've talked about this before, and the importance of types to God was Moses. Right? Moses, he was like, he's way up there, right? He's way up on the echelon. If you were to echelon patriarchs in the Bible, you'd probably put Moses pretty far up, wouldn't you? So,
yep, absolutely.
So he is told, God is upset with him and told that he won't even see the promised land after Moses did thousands. I did so many things that Moses did, right? He's such a patriarch. And then you go back and you figure, well, why isn't he going to see the Holy Land? Well, he struck the rock twice with a stick. And,
Yeah.
and then you say, boy, that's not that. Why such a harsh punishment for something, number one, most people don't understand. I mean, I didn't understand for years. I was thinking, what in the world is going on here? I'm missing something, obviously. Right? Well, he struck that rock twice. Well, he was only supposed to strike it once. So, and then you go back, well, who's the rock represent?
Didn't he have to speak to it instead of striking it?
Yes. So, who's the rock? Well, the rock is one of the names of Christ, right? But you strike it once, that's prophetic, right? Because he's going to be executed, right? But you're not hitting him again.
Exactly.
God wanted that for a type, and Moses apparently ruined it, right? So, okay, you want to play that? That's it for you.
He still did, even though he did badly, right? He still nailed it because how many people do not strike God twice?
Yeah, I just found that I was just shocked.
It's a warning. It's a warning, right? It's basically a warning for us to, hey, pay attention, right?
Yep.
Don't nail Jesus to the cross again. Right? Don't ever do it again.
Yep. So that's just
Once is good, but then because he took the sin of us onto him, right, and on the cross. But you can't keep on sinning and doing the wrong things and not obeying, because that's basically it. Not obeying, because Moses didn't obey, right? He did his own thing. And that's not good. We need to wait on God and let him guide us on what to do. If we don't obey God, then he leaves us to our own devices, and that's usually not a good thing.
And you'd think that wasn't that big of an offense. So that tells you that there's a lot of significance here that you're missing.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it told me. And like I said, it went for years. I hadn't a clue, right?
Yeah.
So that's just one.
There's one story in Kings where there's a prophet and he goes to Jeroboam. God sends him to Jeroboam, and Jeroboam is at a temple, and he has to basically tell Jeroboam what's going to happen to his family if he continues on what he's on, because he had made 2 calves, right? One in Bethel and one he put in Dan, or left in Dan, because he was just afraid that people from the 10 northern tribes would go back to Jerusalem and worship there, and finally go back to being the whole of Israel again, right? So he wanted to stay king, and he put these 2 calves there. But that prophet came and prophesied over him and his family, which later on did come to pass. And Jeroboam said, well, come and eat with me, and I will give you some gifts and whatever, and thank you for this prophecy and whatever. But the prophet said, well, no, I'm told by God not to go into, to go away from here and eat here. Yeah, how did he say that? Well, he can't eat there and drink there, and he needed to go in a different direction. He couldn't go the same way that he entered into the place where Jeroboam was. And then he met a prophet on the way, the new prophet, and the old prophet said, well, hey, come to my house and eat with me. And the prophet said, well, I can't because God told me not to. And he said, yeah, but God, said the old prophet, God did say to me that you could, and please come to me and eat with me. So he did, right? And then he left the next morning. And on the way, he was struck by a lion, dead. Right? He wasn't eaten or anything, but he was dead, and lay dead next to his donkey. And the old prophet went to the prophet and he buried him. And he would never go home, right? He would never be home. So that's interesting. Just by not listening to God, right? Do this, specific instructions. Do this. go there,
Right.
and he didn't do it, right? And
Right.
he thought, well, okay, the old prophet must know, and he has also connections with God. Now you have to do your own connection, have your own connection with God. You have to listen what God said to you.
Exactly.
You have to take it to God.
Yep.
Every step of the way, everything that you do.
Because you might want to try to put what you think is right in front of what God, even though you might do it with good intentions, right? But you're not listening to the specificity that God gave you. And he sees the bigger picture where you don't. It might seem a little off to you, right? But he's got the bigger picture already well in hand. So you need to pay attention to what he said. This is like Samuel, right? What God told him specifically what to do. But Samuel, even though he had good intentions, did the opposite because he thought it was a good thing to do it that way for the Lord. But he did the opposite of what God said. And what happened to Samuel? Right? What was that? What's that one saying that Samuel? It's obedience instead of sacrifice. Something on that. That always stood out to me.
Was it Saul? Did you mean the king or the prophet?
It might have been Saul. Sorry, not Samuel. Saul. Yeah. Sorry about that, Saul.
Yeah, I thought so.
That started with an S.
Saul was a Benjaminite king, right? The first king of Israel, basically. Yeah. Which is interesting, right? Benjamin, first king, Saul, and then later on David, Judah, tribe of Judah. See? And I talked about that Benjamin, right? The son Benjamin of Rachel, pointed to the Messiah, but just not was exactly him, right? So it's so intricate. All these things sort of connect. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot to learn still, and obedience is one of the things that we need to learn.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yep, and be specific about it. There's a lot of examples, not only those couple that we mentioned, there's many examples of that, and it's just our human nature, right? We got to overcome that. Even though, like I said, it was good intentions, right? But, and that's what strikes me when people say, well, I had a good heart about it. Well, you didn't follow his instructions. And mainly, they're usually put out there. It's no mystery, right? It's written down. And they're usually not difficult, but it's just, we just get in the way of ourselves, I think.
Well, I think you, as an ex-military guy, right, you know how to take orders, right?
Yeah.
And you know that it could be sort of very bad if you didn't follow these orders, because there's a reason why you need to follow these orders in a certain way.
Yeah, right? Because they have, the commanders or allegedly have the bigger picture in mind. I don't. I only have my little block, right? That's a good analogy. That's a very good analogy. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's basically what you need to do. You don't. If you really are in connection with God and you get a sort of an assignment or something that you need to do it the way He wants you to do it, and because the overseeing thing is really a thing, right? We don't know, and something good can come from something bad, right? I mean, God can turn things around, because we see a lot of things in the Bible going wrong with people, but then still it turns out good.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, I like this. I like this theme that you're on with the names and the types. You should continue with that.
Oh yeah, I'm about to, because that's my fascination with the Bible. It's so beautiful.
Yep. It's poetic justice.
I can't tell you how beautiful it is.
It's poetic. It's a love story, is what it is. I used to tell people that, and I said, well, it's unimaginable love story, the one that you could hardly grasp. And people look at me like, are you out your mind? They don't get it.
Yeah. No, they don't.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a love story, and it's like layered, multi-layered. That's the only thing that I can think of, like an onion. You just peel it back, but it's never ending. Eventually, you're going to get to the middle of the onion, but this one you're not getting. You may get somewhere. No, you're not going to get close. You could try that. Doesn't mean you don't try, though. Like I said before, because God rewards that, right?
Every onion peel that you peel off, right? Any onion sort of gives you more revelation, more information, more blessings, and more gifts. So why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to peel that onion, right?
Yeah, there's a proverb for that. Oh my.
Yeah, you put yourself on the spot now.
I did, because I know the proverb. I'm trying to think of the exact words that he says. More or less, that blessed is the man that digs for the truth. He will be rewarded. Something that I'll find it for the next presentation. How about that?
Okay, good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. It's very good. It lines up with what we were talking about. Just a little offshoot of what we were talking about digging for it, even though you may not ever get to the end, but the digging is where the blessing is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it takes effort, right? Sure. God says, well, I'll seek my face, basically, or find the kingdom, right? Where's the kingdom? Well, you need to find it. You need to search out stuff. And well, the Bible is so intricate. You can have a lifetime with the Bible and still not know anything. Yeah, but that means that you need to ask for more revelation, and if God tells you to do something, then obey, because the obedience gives you that He will trust you more and will sort of open up more, right? And it's the journey, basically, and the rewards are in heaven.
Yeah, this has got me perplexed right now. I'm starting to get agitated because I can't remember it. So I know what the rest of the afternoon's going to be for me. Yeah, going into.
I think that we live in a beautiful time where the internet,
yes,
however long it takes, is still available for us and to research, and also have the Bible. Also, when you just type in a word and say Bible verses, and things pop up, and then usually what you seek is down there. Otherwise, you have to scour through all the books, basically, and with the chance that you would sort of stick at a certain point where you think, oh, this is interesting, and then totally come out in another rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to focus because there's so many sideways and segues to things, and you get lost. You could get lost.
Yeah, it would be easy if I could just remember a couple keywords. Like you said, we have the internet, right? So all you have to do is just punch them into a concordance, which I'm on the precipice of right now. But you know what? I can't think of 2 words of that passage. and they have to be exactly right. Right? Because if they're not, if they're what I think it is, they're not going to find what I think it is. That's what drives me crazy.
Yeah. Well, can you imagine that I mean, I read the Bible preferably in English because I think it's a beautiful language, and it sounds so beautiful in English. And in Dutch, we also have, of course, the Bible, but then words are also described differently. Where you have for the word faith, for example,
right?
In Dutch, we need 2 words. Right?
Yeah.
We need, and then, so if you go and read, go do a word study on faith, I can get scriptures on faith anywhere, and I got a long list of scriptures. But if I do that in Dutch, it gets convoluted because it means two things and I got two words and it doesn't work, right?
Right.
So, but then again, sometimes when I get stuck in English that I think, well, this is, I don't know, I don't really know what it means. Then I go to my Dutch Bible and then I think, now I get it. So even with the two languages, it's also enriching to get sort of the background of another language that sort of can help, but sometimes also can divide. That's strange. I wish I could speak the Hebrew language and know a lot about that. It'd be so much easier.
Yeah, while you're talking, I'm struggling.
I know it doesn't let go. Right?
Yeah, because I'm cheating. I'm cheating everyone out there because I'm in the background with the concordance trying to find it like desperately, and I can't do it.
Yeah, you're not going to round out the show before you got.
Yeah, I know. This is where we get into trouble because I'll be sitting here to keep talking, Betty, and I'm in the background typing away. Oh, what does it say?
Well, there's many of these proverbs that sort of tell you stuff about laying your treasures in heaven, for example, and yeah. Also, the talents, the parable of the talents is also something that's very goes over that, right? You need to basically use your gifts.
All right, you're really searching for stuff, and I'm gonna stop because, like I said, I'm getting irritated.
Yeah.
That maybe irritated is not the right word. Frustrated at my ignorance. As I get older, I seem to be forgetting more things. I don't know what that is. It's pretty aggravating.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, there's a name for that, but let's not come up with that.
Yeah, we don't need to do that. All right. So the next presentation is going to be next Thursday, right?
I hope. Yes, I hope so. I hope that I have everything done. I'm almost finishing up. I don't want to make it too long because I think that people will sort of fall asleep. Although this is less reading and more like showing and what the names mean and stuff. So it is not scripture reading per se.
Right. And I like the bite size. I think you do a great job. That was perfectly timed. So if you can consolidate, because we're not in a rush here, right? So just pick that topic that you want, and you've done it. Like I said, you've done a great job so far. Pick that topic that you want and just stick with like maybe 30, 45 minutes and then close it. That's really, it keeps it concise. People retain it. Summarize it at the end. I love the summary, by the way. Love that. Most people don't do that. They just yak and yak and yak and yak and don't summarize, right? Because most people fall asleep during the presentation. You want a good summary if you've fallen asleep.
Yeah, at least at the end, you can sort of wake up and still know everything. Huh?
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's just a good practice. It's an art rather than a science, but I like it. So continue to do it that way. All right. Any last words?
This presentation took a lot of reading because I think that if you just name scriptures, it's not enough. You need to hear it and hear it and hear it again. And then
I agree.
If you've been taken through this, it's sort of the foundation of it. So that's why I did that.
Oh, I just remembered. Hold on. Thank you, Lord. I'm going to get it. I am going to. Oh, it's. What? Oh. It doesn't have it.
All right. So I hope they can finish the next one. But also that one goes into deeper stuff. So it's hard to stop. Right? I get into rabbit holes myself.
Oh, I think I found it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think I did. Oh, my goodness. I love it when that happens.
Oh, that could be a beautiful thing to round out with then, huh?
It is. It's a good thing to round out with. So here it is. It's Proverbs 25:2. And it says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings to search out a matter."
Wow.
Catch that one, folks. That'll put hair on your back. Say it again.
Chest.
I'll say it again. Proverbs 25:2. It is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter. So he's telling you that he's concealed things in Scripture. And like I said before, you may not find out, you may not get to know everything. No one will, right? But however, it's a blessing and an honor of the person to try to search out that matter. So,
Exactly.
yeah. Boy, that's a good one to round out. I didn't even present. I win.
Well, I give you that honor. Good. Yeah. And it's true too. Yeah, we can discuss and debate over that.
Yeah, that's a good one. And we'll be bringing it up next week. I'll forget next week, right? And we'll go back to the same thing. Obviously, I put the wrong statement in. It doesn't say it right. I didn't say it right, so it didn't pull up. So I had to go to plan B real quick, but I got it.
Oh, at least you have a plan B.
Yes, I do. All right, great presentation, Betty. Any last words?
No, I thank the audience for listening to me, and I hope it will bless you guys too. And if you have thoughts or ideas, or put them in the comment section underneath, and I'll go over them and see what you got. I like that sort of stuff. But keep it nice and keep it open, right? So, there's no reason to debate things. Just put your own views in there, and that's okay, right?
Good.
That's it. Yep.
All right. Thanks, Betty. Outstanding presentation, like I said. We'll be continuing next Thursday with the next installment, and it's bound to be even better than the first two presentations. So thanks, guys, for coming. Catch you on the flip side. Out.